Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. It's the Lynn and Lori webinar, and today is Tuesday.
Lori, you're muted. You got muted at the middle.
You're muted, Lori.
There we go.
There you go.
Now you go. I don't know why it decided to mute me. It just muted me halfway through. All right, so we're here with Lynn. I have to be on the phone, unfortunately, from my car, but we're here and we're good to go, and I can see the questions. So I'm going to just go ahead and ask the questions here. Kaja says, thanks, Trixie, for all you do. And Mary asks, can you use remote viewing to find a job quickly?
You can use remote viewing to find a job quickly. I'm not sure. One of the ways that you do is you task, for a location to apply, or you task for a job, what job would hire me, or you task for, so you get information about getting the job. Then you have to act on that information.
That's excellent. Great question. Then Kay asked, Lynn, are you going to put up your RV classes 2 and 3 again? What are 2 and 3? Is that intermediate and advanced?
I guess so. Right now I have the basic and the intermediate, and I've included now the advanced course in with the intermediate. So, but they're active on Kajabi. And if you go to my website, it will lead you to the basic course. And then I don't give out the intermediate course until you've been through the basic course with Lori, with myself, with one of the other qualified CRV teachers, Michael Rinaldi, Gail Husick, and all that.
Colleen Marinish.
Colleen Marinich, yeah. I'm sorry. And because we have a lot of people who come in and say, I've been doing remote viewing all my life. Now can I get into the advanced course? No, you're not trained in controlled remote viewing. And that's what the database is about. That's what the course is about and all that. So, but on my website, crviewer.com, crviewer.com, down at the bottom of the page, it gives you the link to the courses.
Yes, and for all of you who came here, I'm so glad that you're here, first of all. And Lynn, I wanted you to know we sent letters out to the whole list. We have over 100,000 on the list, and also put everything on social media during the week. This whole, leading up to this, because I think you'd left a message and asked, you said you hadn't seen anything, so we just wanted you to know it's everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't see it in my email, and I rarely have time to go into Facebook or anything like that, so I just don't.
Okay, so now let me see here. Sally says, I'm an artist and I've been drawing since I was 3 years old. How do I break out of staring at my hand while drawing? Can I close my eyes? So Sally, if you're talking about phase 3, when you're sketching in a remote viewing session, in a controlled remote viewing session, we encourage you not to close your eyes because the imagination takes over when you close your eyes. Right. But you can look around the room. You can be looking around, and eventually you'll find out that you're kind of starting to look at the target, without even realizing it. You'll be looking up and you'll be going, what am I looking at? You'll realize you're actually kind of seeing the target in a way, but not visually so much, but that your body is just kind of naturally doing things like this. So try to avoid, if you can, closing your eyes if you can.
And also, if you have your pen touching the paper and you just look away from your hand and look around, and don't try to draw anything you see. but at some point your hand will start doing the drawing. Your subconscious will make it do that. And so, but other than that, I don't see anything wrong about looking at your hand while you do the drawing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you might not even really be looking at your hand. Your eyes might be fixated on your hand, but you're not really seeing it as you
Right.
get deeper into the target.
Yeah.
And then Sunny said the chat is deactivated. That is correct, Sunny. We deactivate the chat because we want you to use the Q&A so that we can answer the questions in order and keep track of them. Before, when we used to have the chat and the Q&A going, we couldn't keep up with what was going on and it became too confusing. So that's why. Okay, then we have David Flowers. David, I'm so through. I ran into David Flowers last week, about a week ago, a little over a week ago in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was attending the Transcendence 2026, and so was he. And he came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, it's you!" And we ran into each other. So it was really fun to meet you, David. And David said, "Hi, Lynn and Lori. Can you talk about the idea of parallel universes and parallel timelines? I have a friend who told me that the Large Hadron Collider caused a shift in our reality, which caused what we call the Mandela effect." And that's something, gosh, Jim, Lynn, you and I could talk about that till the cows come home, I think. What do you want? I'm going to hand that to you, Lynn, because I know that.
Oh gosh, thanks. First of all, you're going to hear all kinds of rumors about what the Large Hadron Collider did and didn't do and effects that it had. I've heard that it created new universes. I've heard that it, destroyed an extra universe. And I've heard all this stuff that people get in their minds. And if you want to know what the Large Hadron Collider did, read the science of it. Okay. Quit listening to ideas about what it did. Anyway, parallel universes and parallel timelines. Time is not what you ever learned it to be. If time is, time is part of space-time continuum. Since space is three-dimensional, time is also three-dimensional, which means can you go off sideways in time? Can two people go off in different directions in time at the same time? And so on. Like Lori says, this is one we could discuss for ages and ages, days and days on end, and never really come to a conclusion. I myself don't believe in parallel universes and parallel timelines. And if they do exist, my attitude is, so what? I'm having trouble with the one I've got. So, why should I worry about all the others? But anyway, that's my take. Now then,
I
Lori,
do
your
believe.
ball.
I do believe. Can you hear me? Am I muted or can you hear me? Okay.
No,
Oh, okay. I do believe in parallel universes, just mainly because Jim and I have had so many strange experiences. And Lynn, I first heard of the Mandela effect from you years ago when you were talking to me about, oh gosh, all of a sudden I can't think of her name, the lady with the apes. And how a lot of people remembered her dying years ago, but then
yeah.
and the one who
Jane.
just died recently, not Diane
Yeah.
Fossey, but is it Jane Goodall? Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall. Yeah.
Jane Goodall. And then then once you told me about it, we really researched the Mandela effect, all that.
She died, and then years later, there she was in the news again.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we do find that there are some times when certain things happen, and I'll be like, I know that was just a different thing or a different way. And Jim will be like, yeah, I know that was too. And then it'll be, and this is personal stuff in our lives, not like Nelson Mandela. And then we'll just go, well, it's got to be, either a time thing or a Mandela effect or something to that effect. But so we've just had so many weird things happen. And now there are a lot of universities that are doing quantum studies, quantum physics studies, where they said they've actually proven that there are parallel universes just through the way that they're using the photons and the, all the different little studies that they've done, the waves and the particles and all those things. And I think it was Princeton that just did a study, if I'm not mistaken, where they said technically they've kind of proven parallel universes, but it's on like this microscopic scale. So
Yeah.
they haven't proven that there's parallel universes that we personally live in, but we've had so many weird personal experiences that we have come to believe that there are parallel universes.
I'll be honest about it. I've had those experiences too, where all of a sudden everything seems like I'm in a different timeline or something like that. Uh, one time I had a person come up and talk to me and call me Jerry, and I mean we were standing face to face, and I said, and I didn't recognize them, but they were, I mean, they were related to me, and they said, and knew my face and everything else, and called me Jerry. And then right after that conversation, I turned around and I looked back and they weren't there. So there are those times in my life that for which I have no answer except the logical conclusion that there's a timeline. But the explanations that people give for alternate universes, and alternate timelines. I'm not sure. Well, I think it's the explanations that I don't believe.
Yeah. Not that there couldn't be parallel universes, but
Oh,
that
yeah.
some of the things YouTube has crazy videos. We all know that there've been so many different um there's a lot of wild stuff out there now. We all have access through our phones, through our TVs, through every medium possible to the weirdest information. Facebook is full of all kinds of craziness. And you can now with AI, they can make videos that are absolutely real looking, but they're completely made up. And so now it's getting hard to know, what can you believe and what can't you believe? And that's one reason I love CRV, because I feel like if you're blind tasked with a target, that you absolutely have no clue what you're viewing, and you come up with information, and then you find out what the target is, and it's something, then you can believe the information a lot more because number one, you got it yourself and you had no idea what you were going for. So you weren't being affected by your own prejudices, your own, your own assumptions about a certain subject. So that, and then there's other things in life that we just kind of have to chalk up to the more I know, the more I know I don't know. And also that that the great mystery is always going to remain a great mystery. We're never going to have all the answers to certain things. So some things you just have to accept. I'll never understand why that just happened. Like that thing you just mentioned where he called you Larry. I mean, and he said he was
Sure.
related to you.
Yeah.
Or the guy that showed up at the airport with a passport showing he was from a country that's never existed,
Oh, yeah.
and
Mhm.
and then he disappeared.
Yeah.
I when we were in Ecuador, we were looking for a woman's house, and it was very urgent that we find this woman. And we got off the bus, and I was trying to help this missionary guy, and we got off the bus, and it was a massive neighborhood of identical houses as far as the eye could see, and we had no idea what her address was. And suddenly I hear a voice behind me in Spanish saying, "I know who you're looking for and I can tell you where she lives." And I turn around, and the guy I was with was American and didn't speak Spanish. So he and I had been speaking English the whole time. And I turn around and there's this withered little man, just a wizened little guy. And he's speaking Spanish to me, and he says, "Walk down, X amount of blocks, turn right, go down so many houses, and that will be her house." And so I was shocked because I'm thinking, how can this guy even know who we're looking for? And I look at my friend and I look back and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So we followed his directions, and that was her house.
Yeah.
So, just, I mean, so it could have been an angel, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but we have these experiences that we simply cannot explain.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we just have to accept, okay, don't know how, no answer to that one. And then we have Ned, who says, "I'm restarting a nonprofit and recently received the tax exempt status as a 501c3. I'm starting from zero. In the last webinar, I thought I watched Lynn say that remote viewing could be used in business development and finance, among others. How could the nonprofit avail of remote viewing from Lynn or Lori?" nonprofit, the Maria Elena Macario Foundation.
Decision making. You know, before you make a decision, sit down and do a remote viewing session for 1 year in the future and see if it's a good thing. Uh, um, and for making decisions, for hiring people or nonprofit, you may, have volunteers. And uh, let me tell you, I am not for invading people's privacy, but you might want to look and see what the organization has profited or suffered by from that person a year in advance. And this will help you make decisions. And if you make good decisions in your business, you're going to prosper. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ned, I started out as a remote viewer with Lynn, studying with Lynn. I met him back in 1996. And I started my business in 1999, but nothing really got going until 2019, 20 years later. And all of that started from me actually investing and learning about marketing, because my mentor, Lynn Buchanan, taught me, he who hath a thing to sell and goes and whispers in a well is not as apt to win the dollar as he who climbs a tree and holler. Do you remember teaching me that?
Oh, yeah.
And so I had never heard that. Lynn taught it to me,
Yeah.
but I that came to me, and I thought, if I really want to reach people it wasn't about winning a dollar, but it was about, if I really want to raise consciousness on the planet and reach more people with remote viewing, I've got to learn marketing. So I started really investing in my own education, and that's really what helped me a lot more than than sitting down and doing a session on it.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't have the background to even give me guidance. Now, I've used CRV, like Lynn said, to choose between different choices or options, or what would be the best path to go or whatever. But when it comes to really helping your nonprofit learning something about marketing is really the way to go.
Yeah.
So that's my take on that anyway. We've always got to include CRV as a supplement to other information. So
it always has been, even in the military. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, you never use it as a standalone thing. You always use it as a supplement. And then Joel Mitchell asked, and Joel, I think, Joel, you've taken classes with me because your name's familiar. It says, am I limiting myself to tasking an image versus the site? And Joel, in our training, in both Lynn's and my training, we try to train you to actually be accessing information from the site rather than the picture in the envelope or the picture on the screen, because when you're accessing the site, you'll get information that's outside of the image. You'll pick up stuff that's not included in the photograph, and you'll be picking up the sounds of the birds and the tastes and the smells and all those things, information that could be really key to the person who's looking for the information from you.
That's right. Once if you train yourself to only see the image, when you get into the real life and they give you an image, they already know what's in the image. They don't need you, right? They need to know what's not in the image. And to get that, you have to view the site. Having said that, in ARV, if they use images, you view your feedback in ARV, not the target. Therefore, in ARV, if they use images, you're going to view the image, not the site. In CRV, you view the site.
Very good. Sorry, there's a loud helicopter going right overhead. Terrence, hey Terrence, I hope you're getting my emails. I just sent you some emails. Terrence says, hello, Lynn and Lori. Please explain and elaborate on some of the daily and weekly practices that help improve the quality of remote viewing. Anything that the military endorsed and made Lynn carry out daily, weekly, any stories? Lynn, could I ask you to tell them how, when you first started, they made you do 100 perfect phase ones before you could move on? Do you remember?
Yeah, they made me master. I'm not sure it was 100, probably more than that. but they made me master phase one. Okay. Most people think that phase one is just getting the ideogram and interpreting it as, land, space, whatever. The main purpose of phase one is to get you to write down those coordinates and then turn it over to your subconscious at the very beginning of the thing. And you turn it over to your subconscious and let it do the ideogram. Then when you go back and analyze it and say A and B, that's your conscious mind then, doing the analysis. And so from very phase one, what you're supposed to be doing is conscious mind, turn it over to the subconscious, then back to the conscious mind. And this sets up a pattern all the way through the session where you give a cue with your conscious mind, you turn it over to your subconscious completely, and then whatever you get consciously, you write it down. And it starts a conversation. The practice of your ideograms is one thing. We have another practice called the tachistoscope, where you see an image, and then the image goes away, and then you describe it. And you see it, first of all, for maybe a full minute. And the tachistoscope program lets you set the timing of how long you're going to see it. And if you practice that and master each stage, pretty soon you're at 1/60th of a second. That goes flash. And you can completely describe the picture better than you could when you saw it for a minute. And we have that one. We have other exercises, and I think Lori gives these out too. The ambiance exercise. Notice the change in ambiance everywhere you go. The go hug a couple of trees exercise, where you say, this surface is smooth. Oh, this other surface is also smooth, but it's different. It's more glassy or something. And you start noticing minor and minor differences. When you do this, you can go into a session and notice minor differences at the target. And so we have all of these exercises, and hey, you want to know what gets you to be a really good remote viewer? Practice, practice, practice. Okay.
Yes. Lynn used to say, watch out, folks, he's going to use the P word. And
well, practice patience, practice patience, practice patience. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, Terrence, we've been discussing CRV Pro, and one of the things I wanted to mention is that when Lynn was in the military, of course, he was getting paid to be a remote viewer, and he had to put in 8 hours a day and whatever they made him do. It wasn't always remote viewing, but he did do constant, continual remote viewing. He often had a monitor, and it was this rigor of practice with and without monitors. But that's kind of what we're mimicking in the CRV Pro program, in that you have a coach who's working with you on a scheduled basis, and that makes you practice, and the coach is really overseeing your progress and gearing it just to you. And that's one of the and in that sense, it's kind of mimicking what Lynn went through in the military, except that you're not getting paid, and it's not day, it's every week rather than every day.
You can't be fired. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then Ryan Montgomery says, hey, Lynn and Lori, if someone gives you a target that's AI generated, what is the target? The fantasy of that image, target, or pixels or computer code, is an aesthetic impact possible with an AI generated target?
Yes, it is. And we have done that. We've taken cartoons and given them as targets. And we've taken cartoon images and set them on the picture of a real target to see if a viewer will get it. And viewers can get it. And in fact, that's one of the things that we use when we're teaching, when we're breaking a person of viewing their feedback target picture and all that. Because if you're viewing the target, you won't get that cartoon character. But if you're viewing the target, if you're viewing your feedback, you will get that cartoon character. And so this is one of the ways we could test a person to see whether they were viewing the site or not.
Mm. Yeah, that's really great. That way you're training them not to go to the image. And we have run into some interesting things though, Ryan, and I've asked the same question before in that, like, for example, let's say the target was a beautiful masterpiece like the Mona Lisa or something.
Yeah.
Are you going to actually describe the Mona Lisa, or are you going to get into Leonardo da Vinci's intent when he painted it and the mysteries behind it and answer those mysteries? And because people have often speculated on really who's behind the Mona Lisa. Was it really a
Right.
woman? Was it Leonardo painting himself? What was it, But
Yeah.
and so that, that's interesting. And then I remember once Lynn gave me a target that was a sculpture called the Cyclops. And I viewed that sculpture and described it really well. And I found it fascinating to describe. And I didn't get into the artist's head or anything like that. I just physically described the sculpture. And in that sense, that's a good training target because
Yeah.
what I've noticed, Lynn, you've probably noticed this as well. Sometimes viewers will lean towards the esoteric on a solid, provable target because
Yeah.
it's less likely that they'll be wrong. If they say, oh, this is a person who's feeling blah, 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 and they're going through this and this and this in their lives. Well, who am I to say that's not true? But when I really need colors, textures, temperatures, smells, sounds, tastes, shapes, patterns, positions, and the stewards, some students will veer away from those solid things, and I know that they're doing it even on a subconscious level because they don't want to be wrong. And so they pick stuff that they can't be wrong about, that no one can guess. So when you're given a physical object like that, it can sometimes feel harder to view, but your only job is to give, colors, textures, temperatures, smells, sounds, tastes. And that's actually really good training for you.
It's not only, good training, but also it shows the responsibility of the tasker. Okay. Did the tasker say, view this picture, or did he say, view the person that's in this picture? Okay. And oftentimes, without you even knowing it, because you get just a set of numbers, the tasker has messed you up because they set it for a different purpose. And so this is one of the reasons why we train monitors, we train project managers, we train taskers and all that. The In the whole process of CRV, you don't just train the viewers. Everybody has to be trained. The analyst, and many times when you get like a fantasy image, that may be what they task you with. Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in our schools, both Lynn's and my school, one of the things too is not just to train a viewer to view, but to train a viewer to have really a holistic training that so the viewer can monitor, can view, can manage a project, can direct a project, and do analysis as well. When a viewer is really completely trained, it's really good if they're trained to wear all the hats. That's what makes them the most versatile. And we found that learning to monitor and learning to manage a project makes you a better viewer. It really makes your viewing. It makes a difference between an average viewer and a world-class remote viewer.
Yeah. And one of the things is that I would say most of the trainers of remote viewing out there train you through stages 1, 2, and maybe 3, and then tell you you're a remote viewer. Lori and I, and Michael Rinaldi, and Colleen, and so on, from day one, we start training you toward bringing home missing children, winning money at the lottery, you know, uh, applications, medical applications, and all that. So from day one, we train in that direction of making you professional.
Exactly. That's why I tell my students on day one of basic, I'm like, I'm going to teach you as though every single one of you is going to become a professional remote viewer. And I
Yeah.
just finished teaching a 3-day basic, Lynn. It's the largest basic I've ever taught.
Really?
We had 20 people.
Hey, fantastic.
And the thing is that I knew the class was coming up, but I was super busy and I was traveling and all this, so I didn't even think to check in with Trixie and say, "Hey, Trixie, do we have anybody signed up?" And then like the day before, I'm like, "Hey, Trixie, has anybody signed up for that class?" And she's like, "Yeah, we got 20 people." I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God!" So, and it was a fabulous class. It was really fun. Terrence was there,
Good.
and so anyway, it was really fun.
Good.
Then the next one says, "Hi, Lynn and Lori. I am Sunny from Switzerland. Welcome, Sunny from Switzerland. I am happy to be here since I just started RV and I'm super excited. My question is ideogram, martial art, or intuitive? I
Yes.
tried both, but at the beginning, I'm having more success with the intuitive way, even though I started practicing with 2 and 3 and so Gestalts. Do you recommend at the beginning just using one? Okay, let me explain what she's saying though, Lynn. What
Yeah.
she's talking about, the martial art way is your way of teaching it, and the
Ideogram.
way I've always taught it, where
That's the
where
way I
it's
learned it. It's the way I
yeah,
learned it.
right.
Yeah.
The motion plus the feeling. This is the way I've always taught it for 25 years. And but nowadays when I teach basic and people are really struggling with with the feeling component, and I know they're very right-brained, then I explained the way that Ingo taught Tom McNear and the way that Tom McNear explained it to me and stuff. And then
Yeah.
I just share that with them. So they have that option of doing it that way. And she's
Yeah.
calling one the martial art way and one the intuitive way. But
I know.
but
The,
yeah.
the thing is, both ways work. But one of the things you've got to realize is, too, I don't care what the martial art is, it's intuitive. You have to be totally aware of the world around you. You have to be totally aware of the future, the immediate future, what's coming at me, and things like this. So you can't separate the martial arts from intuition.
Yes, that's exactly true. And also, just from my, teaching thousands of students now, what I found is that when if you're really right-brained, you tend to like what she's calling the intuitive way better.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I am actually more right brain than left brain. But what I found is that, and like when I asked Jim after we worked with Tom, I said, "Which way do you like better?" Jim said, "Oh, I like Lynn's way a lot better." And Jim is a retired forensic scientist, and
Yeah.
he's more left brain than I am. But I found that even though I like doing it that way, helped me overcome my problem with water. Because
Mhm.
now I can feel the water as I'm doing the ideogram.
Sure.
It just has a feel to it as I do the ideogram. But
Mhm.
I still find that I need to do the other way when I'm doing big projects that, where I'm going to be working on this project for maybe weeks or months, and there's a
Mhm.
lot in it. I need to do it the other way. I need to do it the way you've taught me that I've always done for the past 30 years, because that way lends itself more to more complex targets for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's more dependable. It's a more dependable thing because you've practiced those ideograms, you get to know them really well, you can tell when they feel a little different, and that way just lends itself, and it is very intuitive too, Sunny. So that
Yeah.
the way that you're calling the martial art way is actually it becomes very intuitive as you practice those ideograms on a regular basis. So
And
so I like using both. It's just having more tools in your toolbox.
for those who aren't familiar with what we're talking about, uh, the what's being called the martial art way is you start out. It's like wax on, wipe off to learn physical responses to inner knowledge. And so you say water, and they go, most people make a wavy line. You say man-made, and they'll make something with a 90-degree angle. You say uh, land, and they'll draw a flat line or something like this. And that is where you learn a physical response, a specific physical response to inner knowledge, your subconscious mind telling you what's at the target. The other way, the one that's called intuitive, is where you just make a scribble, okay? And this is a form of what's called automatic writing. And then you go back and you touch it, and this is psychometry, and you get information from that squiggle.
Oh,
And
I have to, I have
that's
to,
the key differences, and she's going to disagree with me here.
I am, because that's not the way Tom explained it to me. He said the way that Ingo taught him was that when you do the scribble, the scribble and the feeling of the scribble all happen all at once, and it has a quality to it. There's a quality to it, so that when you say, well, when I did that scribble, so it's not the scribble and then how did it feel? It all happens simultaneously. So you're
It
like,
does.
so you go,
It
oh,
does.
well, that
Yeah.
scribble felt like something liquidy over something hard, and
And
so
when you
that's
get to
why.
where you can do that, but even Ingo, if you didn't respond immediately, would have you go back and feel it.
Yeah, so that makes sense too. So yeah, and Tom also said that he found after a while, because I was like, Tom, because it seemed to me like you said, Lynn, there has to be some kind of pattern, or recognizable pattern to the ideograms over time, for sure. And he said, yes, over time. For example, my land always looked like a straight line, my water always looked like a wavy line, etc. And Tom said that.
Yeah.
So
If you don't make that from the very start and practice it, then over time your subconscious is going to say, hey, when I tell you there's water, I'm going to make your hand go like this. And so um, even those who say never use the martial arts way, you get on the internet, look at Paul's work, look at Tommy's work, and all that. And every time there's land, there will be a line. Every time there's a man-made, there's going to be, because their subconscious over the years has said, I want a way to tell you something. So it winds up the same either way.
yeah, it does. They end up kind of becoming very much alike.
They do.
In
Yeah.
either way. And also another thing I always explain to the students, that in the beginning, when I was just getting started, there was so much controversy about that. And I never understood it. I didn't understand it until I actually met Tom McNear. For those of you who don't know who Tom McNear is, he was Ingo's first student. And one of the things in talking with, for example, with Deborah Katz, who's gone through all of Ingalls papers, was given the privilege at the University of Georgia to go through all of Ingo's papers and has worked closely with Ingo's family. They all said Ingo never intended for this not to change. He expected that he was kind of creating the beta version, and then that would be built upon as people learned and everything. And having worked really closely with Mel Riley and been a project manager for Mel, who was the first guy they ever put in the unit before Ingo ever came along, and then came back and learned CRV after being gone for 4 years. He came back and did 4 more years. And I noticed that his structure and Lynn's structure were pretty much identical.
Yeah.
And
And the thing is, you'll hear all these controversies from different people who were in the unit. We weren't all trained at the very same time. There was Joe and Mel and all, they were in the unit. And Ingo came along and said, I'm developing a new method. And so they got trained, and he developed and developed. And then new people came into the unit, and what they got was the further development. And Ingo himself said that he's never finished developing CRV. And so as we got trained, and so somebody with the early training will say, this is what Ingo said. Somebody with the later training will say, this is what Ingo said. and they'll be two totally different things, and they're both right. Yeah, but the thing about the martial art and the intuitive, they both work.
They both work, and I use them both.
Yeah,
Like I just consider them similar tools, like the difference between a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver. They're both
yeah.
screwdrivers, but they're, we just use them for different types of screws. And then Pat McDonald says, just wondered what you both thought of ARV Collective website putting up cash bounties for, I'm sorry, it bounced to cash bounties for blind sessions from viewers. One thing I'd like to say, Pat, is just be careful. We've Lynn and I both, and a lot of other teachers have run into dishonest people trying to
Oh
use
yeah,
viewers in a bad way and offering them money to do certain things when they actually, excuse me, we had a group of guys that came to all the teachers presenting themselves as researchers and wanting to have access to our students. And Lynn and I are very protective of our students. We don't give people access to our students.
nobody gets access
Nobody gets access to our students. And
to your personal information. No.
yeah, or even a way to contact you. We just don't do that. And and we can kind of both be a little bit like a dog with a bone on that, because we want to protect our students. And what happened was, thankfully, we didn't let these guys near our students, but they went on to other people who did give them access to their students and their email lists. And these guys turned out to be felons who were doing trafficking, human trafficking, and they ended up going to prison. But they came on and were like, oh, we're going to use these people for ARV and we're going to pay them. But it turned out they were find the people that they could use for human trafficking or something. It was a really bad deal. And it really,
Yeah.
we were both so relieved that we hadn't allowed them near our students. So just be careful, Pat, because there's bad people out there. And ARV
Oh.
is a real doorway. People are using their, oh, I'm going to use ARV and I'm going to pay you. And they're using it to use those people to make money for themselves. So even if they pay a certain amount to people, you have to really be careful. And also they could even say, oh, we're going to use ARV for the lottery or whatever, and we're going to pay you guys. But what they're really doing, they could be terrorists looking for the best place to put the next bomb, for example. So you have to really be careful and make sure you know who you're with.
I always say,
Did you want to?
I always say your customers vet you before they use you. Vet your customers before you work for them. You really have to be careful.
You really do. And also, I found that the more people dangle a lot of money in front of me, the more suspicious I am. When they go, oh, we're going to pay you all this money. We want you to do this and that. I'm like, who are these people? And why do they want me to do this?
The one that keeps getting me is where somebody calls and says, give me the lottery numbers and I'll give you 1/10 of my winnings.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes, and Lynn always says, and why would I give you the winning lottery numbers if I have them? Why would I share it with you?
All the winnings, yeah.
That's so funny. Irfan. Hi, Irfan. Irfan was also in the class that I just taught a few days ago. Irfan says, any tips on deciding upon or predicting between binary choices? I understand that ARV is generally used for it, but how to work with CRV to decide intuitively on binary choices or options? So I know what I would say to that, Lynn, but I'm going to let you go first.
First of all, binary options have 3 options.
Always.
A, yes. B, no. C, none of the above. Okay. An example. You want to practice and you say, okay, what color is the traffic light going to be the next traffic light I come to? Okay. You have red, yellow, green, or the traffic light is out. Okay. There's always that none of the above. Okay. And so on deciding and predicting between binary choices, always include that third none of the above. And That's one. But for the binary choices using CRV, I would not ask a yes or no question or a one or the other. I would say if if I take choice number one, view my future and view my situation 1 year in the future or something like that. If I take number one, then do another session. If I take option two, what will my thing be? And don't worry about the decision, worry about the result. Okay.
Yeah, and there is there is a CRV technique for that, Irfan, but it's still a form of ARV, where
Yeah.
they, for example, they choose 3 images. One image is the stock's going to go up. One image is the stock's going to go down. The other image is the stock will stay the same. And let's say we say, okay, this is what will that go ahead.
And the fourth image, the stock market may close that day. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have to they ask the viewer just view the target, and they're supposed to view the correct image. But we found that that's one of the worst ways to come up with coming up with choices. You were talking about binary choices, but they're really multiple choices, and it's one of the worst ways. It's one of the least effective ways. The quick through the body ways are a lot easier, and you'll understand that if you take the ARV course. But it's a lot more dependable than that way, because sometimes the viewer is drawn to a certain type of target, and they'll just view the target they like the best, because you can't bribe a dog with a dollar bill. And so the subconscious mind doesn't care about this picture means the stock's going to go up, and this picture means the stock's going to go down. So we don't normally at all feel that CRV is really it's better to incorporate ARV into your CRV practice and use it that way.
And what she meant by the physical way is, let's say you're sitting at the roulette wheel, okay? The ball can drop into a red slot, a black slot, or that one little green slot, okay? And so physically, you take a Coke,
I think so.
some crackers, and maybe a little packet of raisins, okay? And you say, okay, after the ball drops into the slot, what am I going to taste? This is if you're good at taste. And you go, I'm going to taste some crackers, or it's going to be dry or something like that. Okay. You have already set up that if it drops into the red, you're going to drink the Coke. If it drops into the black, you're going to eat the crackers. If it drops into the green, you're going to grab some raisins. Okay. And so you don't worry about the ball. You don't worry about the color it drops into. All you view is, what am I going to taste after the spin? Okay. And then the only way you're going to taste raisins if it drops in the green slot. So you get, I taste raisins. Hey, bet on green. Okay. And that's what she meant by the physical way, rather than saying, do I see red, or do I see red or green or whatever, Go ahead, Lori. You're muted again.
Okay. Is that good? Am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So anonymous attendee asks, what are the practical uses for remote viewing for everyday uses? I enjoyed your talk with Professor Mishlove. Thank you. Yeah. Mishlove. Yes, Jeffrey Mishlove. Yes, practical uses for remote viewing every day. We have so many practical uses now. There's so many people using it for practical things. One is real estate. You can sell a lot more houses if you remote view the qualities of the house that this couple's going to buy, and then show them houses with those qualities, and they end up buying the first or second house you show them instead of having to show them 20 houses before they buy a house, for example. That's just one example. Well, then we had the guy who worked for insurance companies and helped find stolen art and also helped uncover insurance fraud using remote viewing. I worked for a corporation helping them to vet candidates for jobs. As people were applying for jobs, I could use remote viewing for the certain criteria that the company was looking for to determine which candidates might be a better fit for certain jobs. We've used Lynn, help me out. What are some of the other? We've used it for so many things. I use
Well, like,
it.
yeah,
Go ahead.
like for everyday choices, okay. Um, you're a guy standing in a store and you want to get a present for your wife or girlfriend, okay? And you look at the flowers. Hey, quickly remote view this. How is she going to receive that gift? You look over at something else and it's a jewel box or something like that. How is she going to, and you look at the future. And if you're the wife at home, okay, how's he going to feel about steak tonight, or how's he going to feel about ramen? About heated ramen, and so you can make these decisions, and you don't have to. Once you get good at controlled remote viewing, Ingo explained it. The structure of remote viewing. He said the structure of a remote viewing is to get you so good that you don't have to worry about the structure anymore. And what this CRV training does is it brings out that ability to the point where you don't have to sit down and do the thing. You can do a mental ideogram on the on your table and say, ask a question, do the ideogram, and know the answer.
Very good. Yes, I just want to say I do have that free class for those who are asking. I have a free class on my website at intuitivespecialist.com. So if anybody is saying, well, I want to check this out, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. Let me see if this is something I would like. You can get a really good taste of what it's like by taking that free class. And it's called the Introduction to Practical Remote Viewing, and it's on my website at intuitivespecialist.com with an S at the end of specialist, intuitivespecialist.com. And that's there if that's something. It's a 4-part class. There's a total of 8 hours of instruction there. It's not a sales pitch. It's a true class. And then when you go through the whole class, if you want to go further and take the 6-week course, you can get a $300 discount off the 3 course. It's like a 30% discount off the free course. And then let's see, how many students or colleagues of yours have had perfect site integration experiences? Well, I'm one of Lynn's students, and I've definitely had them. I've never done any data to find out how many of my students have had that. Have you ever checked that out, Lynn?
When one of them has it, they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
It's that astounding.
Well,
And I would say that in all of the students I've had, maybe two have had it. That's different from the bilocation experience. Almost everybody, when they get really practiced and far along, will have the bilocation experience. The PSI experience is where you cannot tell you're not at the target.
It's really rare.
I mean, it's as real to you as what's around you right now. And
Yeah,
it's very rare. It's very rare. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tanita, there's a little reel that that we recently put out where I'm explaining the difference between perfect site immersion, bilocation, and what was the third one? Anyway, but
Site contact.
yeah, I can't remember what I was talking about, but it's the thing about it is that when you have a bilocation experience, you're experiencing the target, but you're still very aware that you're sitting in your chair writing on the
Yeah.
paper and you're
Mhm.
continuing to report. But when you have a perfect sight immersion, you lose all awareness of your own body sitting in the chair, in the room, on the table. You are 100% at the target, and you've stopped reporting completely. And it's very brief. It's like it lasts seconds, but it's really cool when it happens too. It's like it's
Happened to
awesome.
me. It's happened to me 11 times in all these years, and I have gotten to where I can hold on to it
Mm.
for a while. But even still, when I come out of it, all I give is a summary. I don't give details. I give as much detail as I can. But Ingo said, don't allow that to happen because you don't get details.
But to me, it's not even an issue of allowing it. I mean, when it happens, and
Oh, it
when it
happens. Yeah.
happens, it happens. You don't have. There's no not allowing it to happen. It just hits you, and it happens. And Mel had some amazing bilocation experiences.
Yeah.
I remember that some people had contacted me. These business people from Amarillo had come to visit us and were talking to us, and these were reputable people. They weren't, they didn't seem like crazy people or fly by night people, and they were talking about the Galactic Federation,
Oh, yeah.
the spatial glass. And I'm thinking, are these guys nuts? Do I believe them? And I called Mel and I said, Mel, have you ever heard of the Galactic Federation? And Mel says, yes, I've been there. And I was like, what? And and then he proceeded to tell me about a perfect sight immersion that he had with the Galactic Federation, and it blew my mind. He had been tasked, I think, with by Ed Dames with the Galactic Federation, and
Oh, yeah.
he had a perfect sight immersion
Yeah.
with that, and it was pretty cool.
But
Um,
they're fantastic. I really live for them. They're fantastic. Yeah.
Julius, yes, essential oils can be used, but they're definitely not a part of anything that's ever been used officially. If you choose to use essential oils, if you choose to meditate, if you choose to balance your chakras first, those are all things you can choose to do as a remote viewer. You're in charge of your own session, but none of those things are part of CRV or part of the CRV structure.
Right.
And so I just
The oils don't give you information about the target. No.
And then he said, I did some research in this area lately and before with government remote viewing on how certain psychedelics were used. Lynn, in your experience, were psychedelics ever used in the
They
military
were
program?
never used. Now, early on, there was some testing. Okay. They were never used by the military, but in fact, they were avoided. Even aspirin, okay, would negatively affect your session. But there were, of course, research done by um, SRI and so on, and they found that psychedelics really deter the the remote viewing process.
Yes. And Linda, I'd love to answer your question. Linda says, my president won't be quiet when I'm doing ideogram practice. It often seems as though they're stiff and controlled. Any
Yeah.
suggestions? Practice is the answer to that, Linda. Over time, in the beginning, I mean, when I first did my first session with Lynn, oh my gosh, he kept saying abort because they were so stiff and controlled, and I
Yeah.
got real frustrated. I think I was tempted to burst into tears because I had to abort so many times. I could not get my hand to do them spontaneously. They were very stiff and controlled, and it was only with some practice that I started relaxing more into it and just letting it come out spontaneously. So that's the only answer to that question, is just, and also practice your ideograms daily so that they become second nature. That's really important too. You also said, do I note in phase one summary if an ideogram appears upside down? No, you don't have to note that. All you're noting in the summary is what you think is when you're doing a session that's just phase one, just list your gestalts in the summary. You don't note it. You don't note if they're upside down. That only would come later when you've really gotten so familiar with them and you start noticing a pattern that, for example, every time my biological is upside down, I find that the person I'm describing has a problem of some sort, or things like that. When you start noticing your own patterns, then you might start noting that in your session summaries, but it would not be in a phase 1 summary at the beginning as you're just learning. And then can I separate the gestalts on the ideogram by site where it appears to morph into another one rather than doing it by texture? And the answer to that is if you only do it by sight, you will soon find that you're missing gestalts that are there and things like that, because some things look like one thing, but they're actually another. And the feeling component actually will give you more information, and you'll feel a difference as one gestalt feels a certain way, and as it blends into another, you'll feel a change in that texture and that feeling component. And so I always suggest that it's better to do it by feeling rather than by sight. It tends to be more accurate. So those are my answers to those 3 questions.
My
And
answer
then-
is, yeah, what she said.
I must be a good student. Lynn's agreeing with me. And then, then Anna says, let me try. Anna says, hello, are there operational jobs out there for budding remote viewers? Budding remote viewers, we don't normally give operations to because we want them to really get the foundation down really well and have some experience with practice targets before we throw them into the deep end of the pool with operations. If you stick with Lynn and I, you will eventually get into operations though, because as you gain experience, it's a natural part of what we do now. And we have a whole team that's doing just operations now in our club PRP. So that's, and Lynn, did you want to add to that at all?
In my intermediate course, I have viewers who are already into operations and working for people. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, we do too. And we now have what we call the Intermediate Advanced Combo Ops Group. And it's just called combo because we're combining intermediate and advanced. So we call it the Combo Ops Group, and they're doing every month we're doing ops targets. So which is operationals. And Sally asks, this is a Trixie question. Trixie, when is my next basic workshop? Because you and I just set that up yesterday, but I don't remember what the date is.
It's on May 13 to 15.
May 13th through 15th, Sally. May 13th through 15th will be my next basic live 3-day workshop.
And my next one is anytime. It's completely online, and you sign up. There's no certain number of days. You have it at your own speed all the way through. And so for those who do want a quick course and all that, I always say, go to Laurie, okay? Or, one of the others. And if you have a busy life and you can only give like an hour a week or something like that, and you need one that you don't have to travel to or anything like that, yeah, take it online. And it's totally at your own speed. We have students who signed up for the basic, and they start off, their life gets busy, takes them away from something, and a year later, they will finish the basic course. It's totally at your own speed. You have total access to those lessons. You can review anytime you want and all that. And so that's the difference between our courses. And your life schedule pretty much determines which way you need to do it.
Yeah, well, Sally, we do, Lynn and I both offer video courses. And the video courses, we call ours 6-week courses, but you get to keep them forever and you can take as long as you want to go through them. My company offers basic, intermediate, and advanced as 3 separate 6-week courses. You get a module every week. Each module contains 7 videos. And so you can binge watch them all on the day that they arrive, or you can spread them out and watch one per day. There's 42 videos in each course. And then we also have the ARV course. So we currently are offering 4, and we're about to come out with a video version of the project management course. It's almost ready to come out with. So then we'll have 5 video courses. And Lynn's company also, he has video courses. He has ARV, basic and an intermediate and advanced version. So on video. So you and both of our companies, you can keep them forever as long as the internet exists, I guess, and as long as Lynn and I are both around. And
And we'll be coming out with project manager courses, analyst courses, how to keep database on everything for the database people, police, um, operations, medical operations, applications, and any special applications like space. We're working a lot with space people, and so
that's
those
exciting.
those courses will come out. I just have them in the mill right now.
They are so much work. It's a ton of
They
work
are.
to put those together because you know it's filming them is one thing. You have to create the curriculum and figure out how you're going to do them and what you're going to put in each video. Then you have to
Mhm.
actually film them. Then you have to edit them, and
Yep.
then you have to upload them. And so it is a
Mhm.
lot of work. It's a lot of work. And when I did them all myself, I tried hiring people to do them for me to film them and then edit them, and they would film them, but then they wouldn't edit them. And
Right.
your son Leonard warned me about that. He's like, "Well, watch out for these videographers because they'll film stuff for you, but then they won't edit them."
Yeah.
And he's absolutely right. And then I ended up doing basic and intermediate myself, and it took me weeks and weeks and weeks. But then,
Mhm.
and it was a ton of work. I mean, sometimes I was at the office till 4 in the morning filming, and Jim would be like, "Are you ever going to come home and go to bed?" But it was like and it would be so frustrating. I'd film something and I'd think it was great, and then I'd check back and there would have no audio or whatever. It would
Yeah.
just be really frustrating. And then the advanced I had professionally done. One of my students works for Netflix, and he came down to my place, and we got it done in 5 days, and then he edited it for me, and that
Good.
was thank you Jesus. That was so
Yeah.
amazing. So, anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, so those are coming out.
Adding closed captions is
Yes,
a
we had
pain in
closed
the face.
captions. Oh
Oh
my,
man.
yeah. And then there's another question here. It says, at times RV perceptions seem to come through in a burst. I think that's supposed to be in a burst at the
Uh-huh.
start of a session, which I connect with. However, at times can have some difficulty getting fresh spontaneous data after I use move commands. However, is this common or something that improves with time? So I read that completely terrible because there's no punctuation. At times RV perceptions seem to come through in a burst at the start of a session, which I
Right.
connect with. However, at times can have some difficulty getting fresh spontaneous data after. I use move commands. However, is this common or something that improves with time?
Common.
So it's common. It's very common. Yeah. And again, practice is the answer, I think. Practice seems to be the answer to a lot of these questions. Just, things work themselves out when you practice a lot.
One of the rules that we have that really helps with this is you get a perception, you write it down, and move on. And in your mind, make it so that there's no session above the line you're on. Okay. So you say, well, I got this feeling or something. Don't hang on to that. Put it down on the paper and then go back and say, now tell me something else about the target. Okay. And don't be influenced by what came before. And if you get to where you do that, those things will come out afterwards. It helps. It really does.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then Joel says, "What warnings might you have about other RV trainers and content out there?" Ooh, that's a
Vet,
Pandora's box.
vet your trainer. Vet your trainer. Okay. Just because they say it's CRV, it's often not. More often than not, it's not. And just because they say that it's remote viewing, more often than not, we've had, when this first came out, we had Crystal Ball remote viewers, we had Palm remote viewers, Tea Leaf remote viewers, and vet your trainer. Uh, don't be don't be shy about saying, "Hey, I'm going to plunk my money down. Prove your qualification to teach me," and don't be shy about that.
Yes. Okay. So I'm asking, let's see. Okay, here we go. We have, yeah, just you have to vet them, Joel. We don't want to diss anybody, and get into talking negatively about anybody, but um, just vet them. You can do that pretty easily just by looking online and looking at there's a Bible verse, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them, right? That, you
Yeah.
can kind of look at the fruits. And then Katerina says, Lynn, you said you've heard a lemon. I wonder, what does it sound like? What would you compare it to? Do you think everybody would hear it the same?
This is synesthesia, where your subconscious gets information and sends it to the wrong sense. And so you hear a lemon. I've tasted the color purple. And on all of these, I can never explain it to anybody, but I remember how purple tastes. I remember what a lemon sounds like. And synesthesia, you can never explain it. People with synesthesia can say, I see numbers as colors. Oh, really? What is that like? They can't tell you what it's like. They just say, hey, I see, I see colors, And synesthesia is a thing that hopefully will happen to you as you learn CRB, because it's fantastic. It's a really fantastic experience. But you might want to just look that up to get the answer. It's synesthesia, SYN, aesthesia.
um, I'm putting your website into uh, okay, let's see. Then romance. In your opinion, is there a viable career as an intuitive advisor using CRV, and how long into the practice of CRV can one begin applying their skills? Rome, I started with CRV, and then I did for 14 years. I did intuitive consultations, and I always started with phase one, and I would use the person's name as my coordinate and do a quick ideogram, and that's when my ideograms really started coming alive for me. And Lynn, for the longest time when he was teaching me, would say, oh, I could teach for weeks on ideograms alone. And I remember in the beginning thinking, really, like, why? I just didn't get it, and it was when I started really using it to help me understand people, that I really went, oh my gosh, ideograms are so amazing. And that's when now I can say, oh, I could teach for weeks on ideograms alone, because
Yeah.
they really are amazing.
I've taught the border guards here that a car can be used as an ideogram. You can
Yes.
touch that ideogram and know if there's junk in the trunk, you know. Um, so ideograms that you learn in stage one, listen, that is the most basic thing of all. When you get into stage six, almost every tool you have is a complex form of ideogram work. Um, so I forget what the question was here. It's in your opinion, um, does this
Yeah.
apply to what Rome's?
Yes. Yes, you're
Okay.
asking, you're answering the room.
Okay, good. Uh, but as you master the steps, okay, and the way you can tell whether you master the steps or not is by practice, uh, and by efficiently and honestly scoring your results. Um, Many people say, oh, there's no feedback for that, so I must have gotten it wrong. No, there's no feedback for you don't score it. And um, Once you master it, and you can tell you've mastered it because your accuracy goes up to 80, 95% and all this, yeah, you're ready to use it for somebody else.
Very good. And then Jeff asked, has remote viewing ever been taught as a college course? You had me work on a college course once, but then the college ended up not they were trying to start a university, and now I don't know, Lynn, you might be better equipped to answer that question.
Not as an official course. Psychic work and psychic stuff has been taught in college courses, but not CRV so far. And we were supposed to start university. We had a multimillionaire who was going to start a university, and one of the colleges within it was going to be controlled remote viewing. And that got derailed by some well-meaning experts, and never came to be. And so the answer is CRV, no. Now, mental paranormals. Oh yeah, there have been courses taught in universities. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So then Joel asked, near-death experiences describe a detailed life review. Might remote viewing be tapping into the same data available? Joel, I feel that in a way the answer is yes, and in a way the answer is no, because if you think about it, everything is consciousness, right? I mean, we might be waves on the ocean of consciousness, and so the wave is part of the ocean, right? So when you're tapping into, so when you leave this body, you're just, that wave is just going back and becoming more part of the ocean. And if you think of consciousness as the hub of the wheel, the spokes coming off the hub, every spoke might be like, one spoke might be controlled remote viewing, one spoke might be tarot reading, one spoke might be crystal balls, you know what I mean? So but they're all tapping into the same hub, which is consciousness. So that's my answer to that question. I don't know.
I read it a little bit differently. Near-death experiences describe a detailed life in review. Detailed. Therefore, since CRV is detailed, do they tap into the same data available? I would say probably so, except that a detailed life review of your own life is not the same as a target to help somebody else. Okay. And so it's probably tapping into the same data specialized toward you rather than toward anything else in the world. That would be my
That's great.
Question.
That's one of the reasons it's so good. It's so fun to do these together, because then they kind of get it from two different, we interpret the question slightly differently. So that's really good. And then the answer, anonymous attendee says, I've recently been experiencing that the way colors look in pictures or on my phone when I take them seem more muted than usual. And also music and sounds seem to have less fidelity. I'm wondering, barring something changing with my eyes and ears, if this is some kind of vibrational alignment shift. Just curious if you've had any experiences with this other than getting older. I don't mean to make fun of this at all, but I mean, gosh, Jim and I have really been noticing how, when you're a newborn baby, you grow so fast, right? You see a baby when they're just come out of the mother's womb, and you see them a month later, the transformation's incredible in just 4 weeks, right? And so it seems like you shoot out of the womb and you grow really, really fast, and then you kind of slow down, and it's kind of this whole circle. And then as you come around the other end, to where you're nearing leaving this sack of flesh that we've been walking around in, it seems like stuff starts speeding up again. And, suddenly things aren't working like they did before. And it's an age-related thing. And I don't know how old you are, anonymous attendee, but that can be age-related. As far as it being a phenomenon or a vibrational alignment, my answer for that would be no. Personally not.
It could also be the technology. Yeah.
Oh, and then also Jim is saying it could also be the technology that you're looking at too. Some technology could be affecting it.
Go ahead.
And say internet stuff or things that you stream have a tendency to have low resolution, whether it's sound or pictures or whatever.
Yes.
So don't trust your phone.
The internet can rot your brain, yeah. But as far as things fading, I would ask, how often do you do the ambiance exercise? Because the ambiance exercise in and of itself will make you see life more vibrantly. The colors stand out more. You notice details that you've never noticed before. And that ambiance exercise will make you so conscious of things so vividly that I've had people come back and say, I'm 40 or 50 years old, and now for the first time, I feel like I'm awake.
Yes, and I remember calling you, Lynn, and saying, "Lynn, I've been really doing the ambiance exercise," and I said, feeling like colors are brighter and sounds are louder. And is that normal? Do you remember me? I don't. You probably don't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
me asking that, but I remember
Well,
calling you and asking you that because the
it
ambiance
happened to me
exercise will
too.
change my life.
That's
Yeah.
what happened for me too. And it happens for everybody who practices and, on a regular basis, practices the ambiance exercise. I always tell people, if you don't do sessions, do your ideogram practice. And if you don't do sessions or your ideogram practice, by all means, do the ambiance exercise. It will change your life and you will become psychic. Okay.
Yeah, that's so true. Sunny, I'd love to answer your question. She says, could you talk a bit about AOLs, stray cats, and how how to effectively get them out of the brain during an RV session? I tell myself loud why I'm wrong, but I notice I can't fully make them disappear. Sunny, stop fighting them. It's a normal part of your brain process, and just welcome it. Just be okay with it, because there is
Yeah.
no way to get rid of them. They're part of the conscious mind interacting with the subconscious, and you just set them aside. Just set them aside and say, okay, thanks for helping, and just set those nouns aside and don't try to make them disappear because they never will.
That's right. And here's a little telling thing in your question. I tell myself why I'm wrong. No, assuming that you're wrong is another AOL. Okay. Assuming that the AOL is wrong is another AOL. You write it over to the side because it's an AOL in format. The thing is, it may be the target, it may be totally accurate, but it may not. It's just that you can't put your faith in an AOL. So you write it over to the side and you say, that may be right, maybe not. I'm going to go back and view the target and find out. Okay. So AOL is not automatically wrong.
That's true. The rule for AOLs and stray cats is just because it's a stray cat doesn't mean it's wrong, and just because it's a stray cat doesn't mean it's right. Our job, our mantra, describe, don't identify. So we set them aside for that reason. And then Vicky was asking about a payment plan option. Yes, we do have a payment plan. And also, Vicky, we do have a partial scholarship. And so if you were to write to support@intuitivespecialists.com, every year we provide a certain number of partial scholarships. And why do I say partial instead of complete scholarships? Because we found that if we give a free scholarship, it's never once been a good thing. There has to be an exchange of energy. You have to have some what is it? Some skin in the game. You have to have some skin in the game, because what costs nothing is worth nothing. So, but we do have partial scholarships for people who are experiencing hardships. So write to support@intuitivespecialist.com. And then and everybody's different. So when it comes to having a shift in intensity of telepathy and intuition and empathic abilities, definitely. And I've also noticed, and I've talked with other people who've noticed the same thing. And Lynn, I'd love to hear your input on this, that it feels to me like I kind of go through seasons where I'm like really ultra psychic. I mean, it's like suddenly I'm just, and then times where I feel like I'm about as psychic as a bag of rocks, as our friend Bevy Yeagers used to say.
Oh, yeah.
And and I kind of go through these seasons. Also, in answer to the last question about 3i Atlas, my team, I did a free thing and everybody viewed 3i Atlas, and we put a report out on the internet all over social media too. And if you send your email to support@intuitivespecialist.com, we'd be happy to share that report with you if you're interested in what we got. So, okay, so that took care of Vicky, unless you have anything you wanted to share with Vicky, Lynn, and before I.
No, I think it's good. Mhm.
Okay. And Trixie, I think, is giving her the support@intuitivespecialist.com answer.
Yeah.
And then Ned gave Ned gave his email address. I guess he wants to be on the mailing list. And Lynn, if you wanted to take that down too, in the case Ned is not on your mailing list. And then
Okay.
Ani Shadab asked, Lynn and Lori, some of us advanced remote viewers wrote to you a few weeks ago requesting mentoring and working for the greater good as viewers to influence, mitigate in some way the negativity of events in the world. We've received no answer. Ani Shadab, I didn't answer that because in the one I received, you were just asking Lynn. I didn't see that it was addressed. I saw that I was CC'd on it, but that you were actually, it said, Dear Lynn. So I didn't answer it because I thought it wasn't to me. That's why I didn't answer that. You specifically addressed it to Lynn in your email. And so, Lynn, did you want to address that at all? The Ani Shadab's
I
question?
was writing down and I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Ani Shadab is asking, she said she had sent you, she had sent us an email. She CC'd me on it, but the email actually said, Dear Lynn, and it was, she was asking if there was a way to provide mentoring for working for the greater viewers to influence, mitigate in some way the negativity of events in the world. Also, Ani Shadab, just as a note, the new MedApps group we have is has the potential to work on that. And so that's something we can discuss if you're interested in that. But Lynn, I'd love to hear what you would like to say
Yeah,
to that.
I didn't see that email. Colleen is helping me now with my email,
Uh-oh.
so she may
Did we
have
lose
seen
you? All of a sudden,
it.
I can't hear anything.
No. Can you hear me now?
Uh-oh. Did we
I
lose it?
can hear you. I can hear you, Lynn.
I can't hear
Okay,
anything.
good. Yeah, Colleen is helping me with my email now because I'm
I don't
just
know what
swamped
happened.
with email.
Oh, there we
And
go.
as a result, she may have gotten the email, but I don't remember getting that one. So,
Okay. Let's see. Something happened. Oh, there we go. Okay. Lynn, let me hear you again. Say something else.
hello, hello,
Okay,
hello.
okay, good. Yeah, all of a sudden everything went away and I couldn't hear anything. Okay, so Ani Shadab, Lynn didn't see that email. And I saw it, but it was addressed to Lynn, so I didn't respond. But do know that you can reach out in the MedApps group also about that. And I think that might be the best path right now. Lynn's got a lot on his plate. I have a lot on my plate currently. But the MedApps group would be the best place for that. And that is being moderated by Jay Sellat and Jim McFarland. And so that would probably be the best place to ask that. And I would be happy to also contribute in that group. And
I'm in the process of getting 3 books written, and so I've got Colleen helping me, and it's been a lifesaver. So,
yes, and okay, and then Julia says, isn't intuition a part of remote viewing? Like if you see visions or have a feeling something's not right, that I can follow my hunches? Yes, Julius, that is correct. Remote viewing is a generic term, and it kind of nowadays refers to anything psychic. This particular Q&A refers to a methodology, a written methodology called controlled remote viewing that helps people kind of organize. It's like a drawer organizer for your brain that helps organize intuition and access information on demand. And that's just the difference between general intuition and so the answer is yes, intuition's a part of remote viewing. And if you have visions or you have feelings something's not right, definitely follow your hunches. But we're talking about a written methodology to get answers for specific things. And Lynn, do you remember the analogy you always used that that being psychic or intuition is the vacation,
oh yeah,
and CRV is the car that gets you there, Julius?
that's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
it's the car that takes you on vacation. The car is not the vacation. Okay. And the CRV structure and all that gets you to where you have the near perfect intuition ability to not only perceive but also to deliver. But the structure of CRV, it's the car that gets you there. That's it.
wow. All righty. Well, we have reached 1:30. We have more appointments that we have to get to, so we have to cut it off here. We've gone 90 minutes, folks, and we try to do this every month. We always end up going about 90 minutes. We say it's for an hour, and we always go over, but I'm going to have to cut it off here. And so if you wrote a question, Trixie usually keeps the questions that we don't get to. We have 57 questions we didn't get to. So these are great questions. So we love them. And a lot of times what we'll do with these questions is we can take them and we'll use the question to create your PRV moment videos or write blogs on them or anything. So these questions are still very useful to us. And we love your questions. Thank you guys so much. Our next one is, let me look real quick. Let's see, the next one is March 10th. March 10th. That's what I have down, Lynn, March 10th. Do you have that down?
Let me see.
And Lynn, also, with Trixie and I went through yesterday.
I have March 10th. Are you there?
We lost her.
We lost. Okay. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
March 10th. Okay.
Okay, gotcha. So the next one is March 10th.
All right.
Okay, you will have to. Okay, she's back.
There
We
you go.
lost you, Lori.
Sorry, I suddenly just
Yeah.
Zoom dumped me out. Yeah, I wanted to tell you, Lynn, that Trixie and I came up with dates for the whole year, and I'm gonna she's gonna email those to you, the dates.
Oh, good.
And so
Good.
keep an eye on your email for an email from Trixie, and
Right.
then you can let us know if any of those dates don't work with you, and we'll adjust them, and then we'll put those out on our websites, guys, of all the Lynn and Lori webinars. We'll post
Great.
them so that you
Okay.
guys can all see them, and we'll also send them out in our emails. So if you're not on our email lists, be sure to get on Lynn's and my email lists. That's
Mhm.
important too. Okay, guys, thank you guys so much for coming. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.